If you run an MSP, I'm sure you've tried lots of different marketing techniques and you potentially had some failures in that time. Well, I'm a self-proclaimed marketing expert and I have just had a huge failure that I'm going to share with you in this video. I'm going to take you through what went wrong, show you the stats, show you how I'm going to fix the problem and go through a process of elimination. I'm also going to tell you about the biggest lesson you need to know when it comes to marketing your IT business. It's taken me 15 years to understand this lesson about marketing anything in general, not just IT businesses and MSPs. So let's get stuck into the video. So here's what we're going to be covering. I'm going to show you exactly what went wrong with my marketing campaign, why it was such a big failure. Then we're going to diagnose the problem. We're going to try and root out exactly where this failure actually happened, what part of funnel it happened in. And then we're going to go down, just like you do your IT business, when you come up against a problem and you need to do a process of elimination, basically. I think that's the route that we're going to have to take here, is a process of elimination. So I'm going to describe what that is. And then the fourth thing that's not on this list here, I'll put it out, is big lesson that will help you market your own business and get to a point where enough iterations, you'll find that you'll be getting leads in just like I get. Okay, so let's get started. First, what actually went wrong? So I ran a webinar. Let me go for my CRM. I ran a webinar last Tuesday. There were over 60 people registered onto the webinar. Let me bring up this is Go High Level that I'm using. And let me bring up the CRM here just to kind of show you the stats on this. Let me go down. Let's go to the automation one because I had an automation set up in here. So August week 1. So there was 50 that registered via the CRM. And there was probably an additional kind of organic ones from my LinkedIn as well, contacts. And they all registered to come to the webinar. So there's about 60 people that were going to come to the webinar. The automation, the way that I have these set up, basically, all right, the way this is set up, there's I run Facebook ads, lead gen ads. So there's basically a form that opens up in Facebook and Instagram timeline. The user can enter their details. And then there's a connection between the Meta Lead Center and my CRM, my level, to capture those lead details. I pay around about any cost between $2 to $10 per lead. Some of the campaigns do much better than other ones. I might pay more for a lead, but it's going to be a much warmer lead. So I'm prepared to pay for the leads. I have a set budget every month that I run. 50 leads, 50, 60 people actually coming to a webinar, really great. I usually find there's around about 25% attendance rate on webinars. I've been doing these for like a year or two now with the ads. So if we have like 60 people registered for the webinar, we're going to be getting around about 15 people to the actual webinar and attending the webinar. I usually get a few emails after, saying, oh, sorry, I missed the webinar. Can you send me the recording? And I send that recording out just to everyone as well. In this case, 60 people turned into 2 people on the webinar. And those 2 people, there was one that was actually interactive on the other webinar. The other one, at the end of the webinar, I said, they got any questions? There were literally only 2 people in the webinar. No reaction. So they either had it on in the background or they just, I don't know what. But so the reality of the situation, those 2 people attended, and it was just, not only was it like embarrassing because I was running this to these people and I'm like supposed to be a marketing expert, but the fact that I put in this budget and only the 2 people turned up, I'm like, what the heck is wrong here? Luckily for me, it's actually the first time I've run this topic. So it's how to get into the AI search answers and responses. But it really makes it hard when you're doing these, it's like week in, week out, like once a month, and then you're only getting 2, and there's something seriously wrong. So that's what went wrong. It's, I was expecting between 10 and 15 people to actually turn up for the webinar. I only got 2. Okay. So if this has happened to you, I'm sure you can relate. If it's your very first webinar, that's going to be normal. If you've never run a webinar before and you're just getting into marketing your IT business, you're going to find you maybe only get two people to actually turn up to the webinar. That's normal. You have to do this. It's a process of iteration. The more that you do it, you better and stronger you get. So that's what went wrong. And what I want to cover really is like, okay, let's dive into the actual detail here. What actually went wrong? So we're going to go into the ad stacks and we're going to try to find in the funnel where maybe something's broken. And, the first part of the funnel, the ads. So let's go into the ad manager and I'll show you the stats here. And this is the meta ad manager that I'm in. And this is my current webinar that's running for Tuesday, this coming week. You can see here, we're paying £4.68 per lead. I go to maximum date range. You can see here, we've had 17 leads so far. And that's for under about $100, I think we paid at the moment. Yeah, about 110 bucks, £90, UK pounds. So normal campaign, normal lead gen campaign. That's what I expect to make. This one here, webinar August week 1, 2025. This is the failure. So we'll go through the stats together and we'll try and weed out what went wrong. I don't actually think we're going to find anything in the ad stat here. Okay. And the reason for that is because we actually got 50 people to opt into the ad. So 7,000 people were reached with this ad. And that's how much we spent to get to those 7,000 people. So about $200 was spent for 50 leads. Excellent, I think. We reached 7,000 people. Of those 7,000 people, so it was shown to some people more than once, we got 206 clicks. So that's people actually clicked the ad. And not everyone that actually clicks the ad, the lead gen ad, is going to opt in. So there's obviously a conversion on that. But those that saw the ad, the CTR is really high. It was 7.5%, which is really good. Usually your CTR is around about 2%. So that to me is really good. And that's the CTR all actually. So that's like if they click the more button on the ad just to see more of the text, or if they click something in the ad, it's not to the actual kind of landing page itself or form. So yeah, we are sitting about 2%. So that's average. That's normal. Look here on the ad stats. So you have $5 per lead, 50 leads. Someone actually went to the website as well. So they went to the ad. They probably clicked through to my Facebook page and then they went to my website. So if we look at the actual ad itself, this is what the ad looks like. We had 3 images. So I used the 3-3-2 method. So it's 3 images, 2 pieces of copy and 2 calls to action. And Meta basically works out the best combination to get your maximum performance. So it's like a couple of memes basically. And then there's an image of me as well as the ad. And then there's just some copy about, hey, come to my amazing webinar. This is what we're going to be talking about. So we had 14,000 people see it, which is excellent for the price. The opt-in, 50 leads. Let's look at the leads themselves. So let's go to the enrollment history. And this is the leads themselves. These are the people that all opt in. We can see average times. So we can see when actually time of day that people opted in. And they went through a sequence. So they went through an automation. The automation, we can pull the stats on. Week 1, it's hidden away here in my level. So you got to click this little arrow here and then it pulls down the stats. Not great. So obviously not all of the email addresses were genuine. There was a few I would say they were bots, but you could tell people were just entering nonsense. They're either checking out the funnel or just playing around more than anything else. We had 60 people actually open the email. Okay. So we had 50 people opt in, and then we had 60% of them actually click the email. we do our math here. 50 times 0.584. So 29 people actually opened the email, and then we had 33% click. So they clicked. The first link in the email is basically the calendar file, so they can put it in their calendar. And I think that's potentially where this broke. So usually when I run these ads to the system, I have a Zapier connection that goes to Microsoft Flow. And the Zapier connection, I'll show you how this stuff. I'll do it on my canvas here. So we've got the lead ad. And this is out with the CRM. This happens. It goes to Zapier. And then from Zapier, it goes to Microsoft Flow. There's a Power Ultimate. I don't know what it's called now. And what happens in Microsoft Flow is the prospect, the email address that registers from the lead ad, gets sent an email invite from my personal inbox to the webinar. So it's like a calendar invite that gets sent, just like you would send to someone like a normal Teams meeting. That's what they get through this flow. That was what was missing from this campaign. Can't actually remember why I didn't do that step. And it's taken me, I run it quite often. It's taken me some time to actually develop this. So let me just show you the Microsoft Flow here. What this looks like. You might have seen this before. So there's two flows. And the first flow, what it does is it monitors my calendar. That's a list flow. And basically, if there's a certain keyword that I have in my calendar, if I create a new webinar or a new meeting in my calendar, this automation will pick up that meeting, and it takes the unique value of the meeting ID, and then it adds it to this flow here. So it's the working webinar, sends it invite. So what happens in Zapier is the contact that opts in, their email address gets sent via Zapier to my inbox. And then from there, it gets picked up in this flow, and then they get sent the invite. I have no idea how it actually works. I actually got someone else to develop it for me. You would think that this would be simple. Like someone wants to go to a webinar and you want to be able to, do that easily. It will automatically send them the calendar invite. That's what this does. It doesn't rely on the CRM sending out the calendar invite. You can't actually do that from the CRM. You can send them, I'll show you what it looks like here. You can send them a calendar file that they can download. I'll go to the actual, this one here. This is the one that's running just now. This is the email that goes to them. So I can send them an email like this. Hey, thanks for registering to the webinar. Add to calendar. And then there's the different links for whatever their mail client is. The issue with this is that there's another step that the user has to take. And I believe that's probably the first bit in the funnel that we need to test. So we actually, the way this works, there's a lot of moving parts to this funnel. But if we look at what changed from the last funnel, that's what's changed. That's the only, from the top of the funnel, that's the first thing that's changed in here. There are other aspects to this that could have went wrong. So other one is that I'm in the process of moving CRM, and there could be an issue around mail deliverability. But it tells me in high level that my mail deliverability is fine. Because if you look here, it was delivered to 93% of the contacts. Of that, 29 people actually opened it. I'm not sure the deliverability is an issue. I have also implemented Easy DMARC. So I'll show you this. This is a cool service if you're an MSP that you can sell to your clients. I will leave a link below where you can get like a discount on it. But this implements DKIM, SPF, all those like sender policy frameworks that you should have in place for like best practices on emails. And I'm using this new domain here. So I've got a policy in place now for this domain. You can see here, and it's saying DCAP's pass, it's fine, DCAP's pass, it's all green. So everything's fine with it. And I'm also, my CRM's telling me that people are opening the emails, people are clicking the emails. I capture the SMS number as well, their cell phone number. And I state on the lead gen form, I will send you a reminder to the webinar to your cell phone. That's like why I capture it. So I thought, oh, okay, maybe if it was an email issue, then, they'll still get the SMS. And it basically just said, hey, thanks for joining the webinar. I'll send you a reminder next week. And then closer to the time, if I go down the event here, you can see that we send an SMS, 10 minutes before the meeting. And we actually just have a direct link to the meeting. So people are actually getting this to their cell phone and clicking, they just have to click on the link to open up Teams. And that didn't happen in this instance. So I think what I'm starting to learn here with this is that I think the automation that I put in place through Microsoft Flow, where it automatically says in the invite, that's the first bit we need to check. We need to see on the new campaign that I'm running, I've kept the ads the same because I was getting decent opt-ins. The cost per lead's fairly low. At the moment, we're kind of sitting at $7, £5.35, and we've had 17 people opt in. We're probably going to get up to about the same number again, 50 or 60 people that are going to register via this mechanism. So the first thing I need to check is to see if the Zapier connection is going to be helpful in any way or not. If that doesn't work, we have to come back next week and look at, okay, there's obviously a bigger problem here. What is it? Is it the messaging in the email reminders that's the problem? It could be. I don't really incentivize things, or it could be something else. So that's where I am now with this. But what I think, is process elimination. So we've diagnosed what the issue is. That was fairly obvious. We had two people turn up. But the process elimination, this is like an ongoing thing until we actually get it working correctly. And in an ideal world, I should be running the same ad to the same form with the same text. I should be keeping it the same time of day, same day of the week. So Tuesdays, 6:30 here in the UK. That helps out my US customers. That's where I advertise. That's what I need to check. So I need to keep everything the same and then just tweak, from that top of funnel down. Okay, so this week, we now have the Power Automate flow back in place. Let's check the results. I'm taking the same text as last week, and we use the same text in the actual automation. So that's what I mean by process elimination. You do this in your IT business. If there's something wrong and you're not entirely sure what it is, you're going to check the cable first. Okay, it's not the cable. You're going to check the dot. Is it the dot? Is it the power? Is it the power? So on. So the process elimination, it's the same with your marketing, but it's just being aware of all of the different points in the funnel that you need to eliminate. Once we get some closure in this, that's when we can scale up. So the amount of steps is crazy, actually, if you think about it. Certainly for me anyway. So there's the lead gen ad, then it goes to Zapier, then there's the Microsoft Flow, then there's the invite. Then they actually have to turn up to the webinar. So webinar, live event. And then once they've been to the live event, that's where we actually have like a call to action and follow-up sequence to join our program. So there's like a few steps here, and we need to make sure that all of these steps work in this funnel. I've been doing this for a while, but I've been very lazy about it for the last 2 years. I haven't been keeping on top of it. So I do them maybe once a month or once a quarter. I'm not doing them regularly. I'm not doing them every week. What's changed recently is the fact that I'm doing these every week. I have like a routine now where on the Tuesday, I'm setting up so the consistency that I've been putting in has been lacking. And that's one of the biggest things when it comes to marketing. You need to be consistent. And specifically when you have a funnel like this, where there's a lot of moving parts to it, you need to make sure that all the parts are working correctly. You need to be consistent so that you can actually, learn by the mistakes. And that's the biggest thing within this video that I really want to kind of reach out to you with. A lot of MSPs that I speak to, they tell me that the marketing is not working. They tried so many different things. So what's the lesson within that? Well, the lesson is that marketing is a lesson. There's going to be a lot of failures, but there's going to be successes as well. So for me personally, the biggest success that I've seen is these lead gen ads. When I was in the past, when I did this for IT Rockstars, I was relying on Facebook groups to market my business. So I'd post up a video into a Facebook group to get people back to my website. And that works really well when Facebook was pushing Facebook groups. But Facebook groups have very much died off a lot. They're not the same as they used to be. And I go back further when I had my own break fix IT business. I relied a lot on search engine optimization. That actually works really well if you're at the top of Google. The issue with it is that you're relying purely on the algorithm. So just like Facebook groups, the algorithm changed for me when I was doing SEO, and I lost my first page rankings for a number of key websites. And the lesson that I learned there is the algorithms can't be trusted. You may have some great wins from them, but then they stop working. And it's the same for all types of marketing. It'll work for a while and then it'll stop. You need to find something else. The big lesson here is the more that you can control what it is you're doing within your marketing funnel, the higher the chances are that you'll be successful with it. And what do I mean by that? Well, with lead gen ads, I'm not relying on an algorithm to send me traffic to my website to populate my CRM. I am paying the platform for that data. I'm taking those contacts from the lead gen ad, and they are now they're part of my business. I have them in my CRM. It means it's a valuable asset, and it's a growing asset in my business over time. I can do a lot of things with that contact data. At the moment, I do emails. That's primarily what I do. But at some point in the future, I maybe want to have a sales team. I've got the contact database there. I can see who's engaged in the emails that I'm sending out. When you have failures like what I had with Facebook groups and SEO, what you start to realize is that there are actually lessons. It basically is teaching you not to go down that route. Okay. That's what it's doing. I'm still learning out here with lead gen ads, where I need to try and refine the funnel. But then once the funnel's refined, then I need to look at the data and say, okay, I'm spending this amount of money on lead gen ads every month, and this amount of customers is coming from it, or this amount of leads is coming from it, and these are the leads that are turning to customers. Can I, I can control that, but would there be a better return on investment for me? Would it just be a case of hiring a salesperson that maybe leverages the contact database a little bit better? So, we have 50 people that opted into a webinar. I send them all emails and get added to my email newsletter, but I'm not doing anything else with them. I don't have anyone phoning them up, speaking to them about the market. Why did you opt in to this lead? Why did you opt into a webinar about grow your IT business? I'd really like to understand that. Just having that conversation with them. Something that I could be doing. And that's purely because I don't want to be doing that. I love the marketing side of it. I love looking at, creating the ads. I love doing the creatives. I love setting up the connections. What I don't love so much would be picking up the phone and speaking to those leads. And I think, that's just the way I am. When I was doing MSP sales, I had like a sales trainer. And one of the very first things that they made me do was pick up the phone and start phoning businesses. And I realized that that's like one of the best ways to generate business for a business, but it's not something I like doing. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do something that I like doing. And, I will eventually get there, or I will enjoy the journey more than the destination. Anyway, that's it for this video. So the big lesson here is there's never failures in marketing. It's always about lessons. So the lessons that cost you, so like the Google ads that you paid for, the $10,000 that you dropped in Google ads that you've hardly seen anything from, That's a big lesson that you paid for there. Okay. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.